The base went dark, radios failed, and the only voice I could hear was a scared 19-year-old next to me, whispering for his mom. I can still feel the weight of that night pressing on my chest, like the humid air refused to move unless we did. Firebase Juliet wasn't much, just a patch of high ground ringed by sandbags and aluminum. We'd carved it out of the jungle because command said we needed an eye in that sector. What they didn't say was how under-resourced we'd be. Half our towers were down, generators limped along like old dogs. Still, we made it work, most nights. That night didn't start any different. I was posted at the east perimeter with Morales, a good kid from El Paso, maybe 2 months in country, still fresh enough to polish his boots and write long letters. We'd joked about Chow, talked trash about command, and watched the fireflies blink out beyond the wire. Then, sometime around midnight, the world shifted. At first, it was subtle. The generator hiccuped, just a stutter in the low drone we'd come to depend on like a heartbeat. Then a pop, another, and silence. The entire firebase blinked out. No lights, no hum, just the jungle swallowing us whole. I tapped my comms. Nothing. Dead static. I tried the backup handset. Same. Across the way, I could see 2 other fire teams looking around, waving silently, trying to signal, but nothing coherent. Our little fortress had become an island of shadows, and no one knew if it was sabotage or system failure. "Sergeant?" Morales whispered. "Hold," I muttered, squinting toward the wire. My night vision goggles weren't working. Battery was full earlier, now nothing. I flipped them off and tried to adjust with my bare eyes. The stars were no help. Clouds had rolled in thick and low. Even the moon had ducked behind cover. "Sir, something's wrong," Morales said again, his voice thinner now. "I know," I said, and drew my weapon up. "Just stay alert." We were trained for blackouts. We'd drilled contingency protocols. But this wasn't training. This was a jungle that didn't love us, an enemy we couldn't always see, and a new guy beside me who hadn't yet learned how to hide his breath. I crouched low and scanned the tree line. Still nothing, the kind of nothing that sets your nerves on fire. Then, far off, maybe half a mile, something flared. Not bright enough for artillery, not loud enough for a grenade, just a pale, flickering light like a candle catching inside a can. Morales shifted behind me. His boots scraped the dirt. "I don't like this," he whispered. "Neither do I." A distant bird call pierced the air. Too sharp, too precise, maybe real, maybe not. The Viet Cong were smart. They'd mimic nature, twist it to fool us. I raised my fist, signaled to hold position. We stayed like that for what felt like an hour, though it couldn't have been more than 10 minutes. Every twig snap became a threat. Every breeze, a whisper of death. Then the voice came, not from the jungle, not from a speaker, from right beside me. "I don't want to die out here," Morales whispered. "Not like a soldier, not like a man, like a kid, scared, alone, no bravado left." "You're not," I said. "You're right here with me. We hold, that's all. We hold." But I could hear it in him, the tremor, the fear coiling around his ribs like barbed wire. I remembered my first night under fire, the cold sweat, the taste of iron in my mouth. I'd thought I was ready, thought training and toughness were enough, but war has a way of stripping you down to the bones of who you really are. The flares didn't fire that night. Backup didn't come. We were blind. I crawled toward the next post, keeping low, trying to check in with Johnson's squad. No response. Only 2 of them were even still at their stations. Others had moved, not sure where. Confusion was spreading like oil across water. Back at the main hut, I knew the CO would be trying to rally the sappers to get the generator back up. But without comms, he was just as blind as we were. And out here, where the jungle wrapped you like a fist, you didn't want to be blind. I made it back to Morales. His hands were shaking now. "Take a breath," I told him. He swallowed. "I thought this was going to be like the movies, like night vision, control, plans, not this." I nodded. "None of it's like the movies, but it's real. You're here. That matters." His eyes welled up. He turned his head, trying to hide it, but I saw. "I miss home," he whispered. "I miss my mom." He didn't even say it like a confession, just a truth too big to hold in anymore. That's when I felt it. Not anger, not frustration, a kind of fierce tenderness, like someone had handed me a flame to protect. I wasn't just his NCO anymore. In that moment, I was the last line between him and the dark. "We all do," I said quietly. "You think I don't miss mine?" He looked at me, startled. I think it hadn't even occurred to him that we were all holding something back, that maybe the toughest guy on post had a picture folded in his wallet too. The clouds shifted, just a bit, enough moonlight to see the outline of the jungle. Still, nothing moved, and that was the strangest thing. Usually, you could hear the insects, the frogs, night sounds that were as steady as a lullaby. But now, silence, the kind that warns you, the kind that says something's out there, listening. I scanned again, raised my rifle, waited. Behind me, Morales whispered, "What if they're already inside?" I didn't answer, because that's what I was thinking too. Then a sound, faint, metallic, clink, clink. Something was near the south fence. I raised my fist again, slid forward on my belly, gravel biting into my forearms. The sound came again, clink, clink, then a soft thud. A rock? A tripwire? I couldn't tell. My heart beat so loud I thought it might give us away. Morales crawled beside me. "What is it?" "Could be nothing. Could be a scout." We waited, but nothing moved. No charge, no calls, no alarms, just that damn silence. I exhaled slowly, checked my watch. 01:47. The dark was holding, the quiet stretched on, and in the middle of it, I heard him again. That kid. "Sergeant, if something happens, can you tell my mom I tried?" I closed my eyes for a beat. "Nothing's going to happen," I said. "But if it does, I'll tell her everything." He nodded, wiped his cheek, and in that moment I realized we weren't just holding a perimeter. We were holding each other. The silence didn't last. At 02:03, the south perimeter tripped an alarm, one of the old-school mechanical ones. A taut wire connected to a bell rigged in a soup can. We'd built it ourselves, just in case the tech failed. It rang out like a church bell in a funeral home. Everyone froze. I felt it ripple through the base like static. Guys jumped, others crouched low. No one fired, not yet. Firing without confirmation was how friendly fire happened. And we'd all heard stories. Hell, I'd seen it once. I reached for the field phone again just to try. Still dead. The radios were down, no power, no signal flares, only the manual alarms. This wasn't just a glitch. Something had deliberately shut us down. I scanned the wire, couldn't see movement, but I could hear breathing, my own, Morales, maybe someone else's. Sharp inhales, held lungs, waiting. "Eyes on the wire," I said. "If it's anything, they'll move." But nothing moved, no rustling, no silhouette. just the bell swinging slightly in the dark, as if mocking us. That's when I noticed the flashlight, a tiny pin-prick of light, off and on, low to the ground, maybe 100 meters out. Then dark again. Signaling? I hissed to Morales. Did you see that? He nodded quickly. Yeah, Morse maybe. We didn't answer. That was policy. No answer unless it came from known friendly units. But we had no idea where friendlies were. We were in full blackout, in the middle of a war zone, and someone was out there with a flashlight blinking just enough to rattle us. I crawled to the nearest bunker entrance. Sandbags, steel plate, and a guy I didn't recognize holding a radio like it might bite. Anything? I asked. He shook his head. Generator's gone. Sappers think it might have been sabotaged, cut wires, but can't confirm. You hear that alarm? Yeah, south line. I'm heading that way, I said. Cover if anything goes hot. He gave me a look, half fear, half gratitude. No one wants to be the guy crawling toward trouble. But that's the job. I slid out and waved for Morales to stay back. He didn't. Sergeant, I'm with you. Didn't ask. I know, still am. I sighed. Stay on my left. Don't step off the gravel. We moved slow. Every sound was louder now. The soft crunch of boots, the rattle of my helmet strap, the creak of my back brace from years of gear and grunt labor. I felt like the dark was pressing down on us, heavy, wet, breathing. At the wire, I found the tripped rig. The can was still swaying slightly. No sign of a cut. No footprints that I could see. Just the wire, a little slack. Then I saw it. A stick, about 6 inches long, jabbed into the dirt at a slight angle. Almost nothing, but just enough to lift the wire off its loop and let it slip free. Could have been wind, could have been animal, could have been intentional. Eyes up, I whispered. We're not alone. I swept the tree line again. Then I caught it. A figure, brief, half-glimpsed, moving low and fast behind the foliage. My finger tightened on the trigger. Visual, I breathed. Fire? No, not yet. But it was damn close. Then a whistle, high, descending. A flare, one of ours, finally triggered. It popped in the air and hung there, sizzling bright like a dying star. And that's when the base lit up. Movement everywhere, shadows scrambling, boots on gravel, voices shouting, guys rushing for bunkers, others locking down weapon stations. Chaos, but no gunfire, because the flare revealed no enemy, just us, and one man down. Near Tower 4, a shape lay sprawled. Not moving. Someone had fired. I raced toward it. Morales stayed close. We found the body half covered in a tarp, hit in the side, blood soaking into the gravel. PFC Leonard. A good man. Quiet. Steady. Dead. His rifle was still slung. Safety on. Friendly fire. My stomach twisted. I turned, looking around. Who fired? Who saw what? No answer. A few guys started trickling toward us. Most stayed behind cover. Finally, a voice. Martinez. I thought I saw movement. I didn't know. You didn't challenge? I thought he was inside the wire. He collapsed to his knees. I knelt beside Leonard, checked for a pulse, even though I knew better. His skin was cooling. Morales looked like he was about to vomit. It was us? Yeah, I said. It was us. The flare flickered and died. Dark again. And this time, the silence wasn't full of threat. It was full of guilt. We carried Leonard's body to the bunker, covered him with a poncho. I assigned 2 guys to guard him, not because anyone would take him, but because it felt wrong to leave him alone. Then I sat, Morales beside me. Neither of us spoke for a while. Finally, he said, "I thought it'd be clear. You know, enemies over there, us here, right and wrong." "It's not," I said. "Not always." "I don't think I can do this," he said quietly. "You already are." "No, I mean, I don't want to become numb." "You won't," I said. "If you're asking that now, you're already different." He nodded, slow. Then, "Why did you come back? After your first tour?" It wasn't the kind of question you expect from a kid in the middle of a blackout, but it was honest. It deserved an answer. "I came back," I said, "because someone stayed with me once. First blackout I ever had, I froze. Just like you. Someone didn't leave me behind. Figured I owed that forward." He looked down at his boots. "You think I'll make it?" "Yeah," I said, "because you care, and that's rare." He wiped his eyes again. "Thanks." We sat there, rifles across our knees, waiting for the generator to return. And when it did, around 0400, there was no cheer, just a low hum, lights flickering, radios chirping, business as usual, except nothing was usual anymore. We'd lost a man, not to the enemy, but to fear, to confusion, to the terrible human margin in every plan. And I knew this wouldn't be the last night we'd face it. By the time the sun broke over Firebase Juliet, the ground felt like it had been holding its breath all night with us. Everything smelled different, earthy, damp, like the jungle itself was waking up, pretending nothing had happened. But we knew. I watched the first orange streaks push through the mist and light up the sandbags. For a moment, it was almost peaceful. Beautiful, even. If you didn't know any better, you'd think it was just another morning. But Leonard's body was still in the bunker. Martinez hadn't moved from his post all night. He was still sitting there, staring at the wall like it might answer something for him. I walked over slowly. "You sleep?" I asked him. He shook his head, eyes glassy. "Eat?" Another shake. "You need to eat, Martinez. You didn't mean to." He turned to me, voice hoarse. "But I did." "I know," I said. "I've seen men freeze. I've seen them shoot the wrong thing. Hell, I've been one step away more times than I like to admit. But you need to come back from this. He wouldn't want it to kill two of you." His lip quivered. He looked down at his hands like he didn't recognize them. I gave him a ration bar and a water canteen. "Start here." I left him to grieve in his own way. We all had our rituals. Some wrote letters. Some went quiet. Some found a tree and yelled into the leaves. Me, I checked gear. When the power came back up, the comms flickered to life. Command buzzed in with static and confusion. "Juliet Base, status report, over." I took the call. "This is Sergeant Lane. 1 KIA, possible sabotage, 1 false contact at perimeter, no enemy fire. Generator was manually disabled. Over." "Say again, manually?" "Yes, sir. Wires were cut. Deliberate." A long pause. "Understood. Intel teams are stretched thin, but we'll get eyes on the sector. Hold until further." "Copy. Out." I set the handset down, feeling that old tension crawl up my spine again. This wasn't over. We hadn't just been hit by bad luck. Someone had made sure we'd go dark, and it nearly tore us apart from the inside. The CO called a formation later that morning. Most of the men looked like ghosts, sallow eyes, hollow expressions. Leonard's name was read. No one spoke, not even Morales. He stood behind me in the line, shoulders hunched, face tight. I pulled him aside afterward. "You good?" He hesitated, then said, "I can't stop hearing it." "Hearing what?" "That bell, when it tripped. Every time I blink, I'm back there." I nodded. It fades, not fast, not all the way, but it does. You get to replace it with better sounds. Like what? Laughing, letters read out loud, the hiss of coffee in a canteen cup. You'll see. He didn't look convinced. That afternoon, a chopper came in. Supply run mostly, but one passenger stood out. A young lieutenant, clean uniform, fresh boots. No dust on him yet. He asked for me by name. Sergeant Lane? Present. He handed me a folded envelope. Message from command, and someone wanted me to give you this. He held out a dog tag. Not Leonard's. I turned it over. It belonged to a specialist carder, someone I hadn't thought about in years. Who sent this? I asked. The lieutenant shrugged. He said you saved his life once, said it was time he returned the favor. And just like that, I remembered. Carter was the one from my first blackout, the guy who stayed with me when I froze behind the radio shack in my first month. He never made a big deal about it, just sat beside me, cracked a joke, handed me water, and said, "You don't owe me anything, but if you ever get the chance, pay it forward." I'd forgotten that until now, and maybe Morales didn't realize it yet, but last night, that was me paying it forward. That night didn't make me a hero. It made me human. I didn't stop the sabotage. I didn't save Leonard. But I stood beside a kid when he needed someone, just like someone once did for me. We buried Leonard behind the wire. Small service. No chaplain, just men standing in the mud with their hats off. Morales read something from a letter Leonard had been writing. Never finished. It said, "I don't know if I'm brave, but I want to be. I want to do right by the guys here. That's all." That hit harder than anything else. After the service, Morales came to find me. He held up the broken wire from the trip bell, still tangled with the small stick that had triggered it. "I kept it," Morales said quietly. "Don't know why. Maybe to remind me it was real, that it cost something." I looked at him and for the first time saw the weight he was learning to carry. "You think it was VC?" "Could have been," I said. "Or someone testing us. Maybe locals warning us without making it too loud." He turned the stick over in his hand. "Either way, it worked." I nodded. "Yeah, and now we know better." He looked up. "So what do we do?" "We learn. We adjust. We don't forget." He nodded. "You still think I'll make it?" More than ever. That evening, as the sky turned purple and gold over the hills, I brewed a cup of coffee over a tiny flame. Just me, the tin cup, the hiss of steam. It smelled like home, like routine, like survival. Morales sat down beside me without a word, just shared the silence. After a long pause, he said, "If I ever have a son, I'll tell him about this night. Not for the fear, for the way it ended." I didn't answer, just sipped my coffee, watched the flag catch the wind at half-mast. Some nights never leave you, but that's not always a bad thing. The next few days at Firebase Juliet passed in a strange hush. No more alarms, no more flickers in the wire. It was like the jungle had gotten what it came for and backed off. Or maybe it was just waiting. We rebuilt what we could, fixed the generator line, doubled the patrols, replaced the tripwire with motion lights, new batch just flown in, and we buried Leonard with a wooden cross painted white, his name etched into the side with a bayonet tip. No ceremony could make it whole, but we did what we could. That's how it works out there. You don't finish grieving. You just carry it differently. Morales stayed close. He stopped asking questions every hour. He started listening more, watching, learning how people moved, how I handled the night checks, how to fold a sleeping bag in under 15 seconds when the call came. One night, maybe 4 days after the blackout, I found him sitting by the tower steps, looking out over the wire. I asked him if he was sleeping better. He nodded. Some nights, then added, "I don't want to forget it, though, even if I could." I sat beside him. "You won't. You're not supposed to." I used to think being brave meant not being scared. I smiled. That's Hollywood talking. So what is it really? I thought about that for a while. The moon was out, finally, clean and sharp over the tree line, and, for once, the night sounds were back. Frogs, cicadas, the gentle thrum of life that had disappeared during the blackout. Being brave, I said, means walking into the dark anyway, even when the voices in your head are screaming to turn back. He looked down at his boots, then up at me. "You were scared that night too, weren't you?" "Terrified." He didn't laugh. He just nodded, like that made something click into place. "I think I want to be that guy," he said, "the one who stays with someone else when it gets bad." "You already are." He didn't say anything more, just sat with that. Later, I found the letter Leonard had been writing. His things had been packed up to send home, but I'd been asked to screen them, in case there was anything classified. There wasn't. Just a few pages, some dirt smudges, pencil rubbed dull at the corners. He wrote about the base, about the chow, about how Morales made everyone laugh even when he wasn't trying. He wrote about home, his dad, a dog named Dusty, and one line that stuck with me all these years. "Out here, every small kindness feels like gold." That's what he wrote. I copied it into my own journal, the one I keep zipped up in my gear bag. Still have it, still read it, because he was right. Out there in the dirt and the dark and the chaos, the smallest things mattered most. A shared cigarette, a word of calm, a hand on the shoulder when the panic sets in. We remember the big stuff, the bombs, the blackouts, the bullets. But what stays with you? What really echoes? That scared 19-year-old voice in the dark, whispering for his mom. That's what I carry. Years later, long after I came home, I got a card from Morales. He tracked me down, said he'd made it through 2 tours, got promoted, got married, named his first kid Leo. Said he never forgot that night. Said he tells his recruits, fear isn't the enemy, forgetting who you are is. I keep that card on my desk, right next to Leonard's picture. Some folks ask me why I still talk about it, why I keep digging up the old stories. And the truth is, I don't think they're old. Not really. Every time a young man shakes on the first day of basic, every time a soldier wonders if they're enough, every time a parent prays their kid makes it home, that night lives again, and I want them to know they're not alone. I wasn't. I had Morales. He had me. And for a few long, terrifying hours in the middle of nowhere, we held the line. Not because we were fearless, but because we had no other choice, and because somewhere deep down we believed each other was worth holding it for. The world's louder now, faster, everything streamed, shared, swiped. But in the middle of the noise, I still come back to that night, to the quiet after the flare died, to the whisper of a scared kid beside me, to the hum of the generator coughing back to life like a heartbeat restarting. Some stories don't shout, they whisper. They find you in the quiet hours, like a voice in the dark, just asking not to be forgotten. Last night at Firebase, Juliet still lives in me, not because it was loud, but because it showed me who we really are when no one's looking. Not warriors, not heroes, just people holding the line for each other. If that means something to you, you've got a place here. Pull up a chair. Subscribe if you want more stories that don't make the headlines, but make us who we are. And if you've got one of your own, drop it in the comments. I'll be here, listening. That's how the light stays on.